I swear to God, a real video was coming soon. Here's a sneak preview. But I just saw Spider-Man Homecoming, so why not do a little reel it in on it? Have a little fun, you know? Spider-Man Homecoming is the 6th Spider-Man movie. It's the 3rd reboot. Tom Holland plays the 3rd iteration of Spider-Man. I think there was a TV show, too. There were like 4 of them. Not counting the animated ones, there's like 10 of those. It's like, oh, Spider-Man again? When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, Spider-Man again? Oh, he's gonna fight another guy this time. Another green guy. Okay. He fights a lot of green guys. So, I was like, alright, it'll probably be fine. It's Marvel after all. Marvel mostly puts out good movies, you know. I saw the movie just yesterday, and I loved it. This movie is goddamn fantastic. It is a perfect Spider-Man movie. It is one of the most fun movies I've seen all year. It is one of the best Marvel movies. I don't know where it ranks. I'm just breaking out the list. I'd say it's a little bit above Civil War. All these Marvel movies have many, many problems, obviously. But the strengths of this movie far outweigh its weaknesses. First off, Tom Holland is the best portrayal of Spider-Man. He does a perfect job capturing what Tobey Maguire had with Spider-Man, which is this sense of vulnerability, the sense that we're watching an actual nerd, and that we're watching a kid who is a kid, and who is immature, and who makes mistakes, and isn't a whiny brat. What really sells it with him is his voice, because he does kind of look older. He doesn't look 15 or whatever he's supposed to be. But he has this voice like this raspy little voice, which he even tries to cover up in the movie by having this Batman voice modulator. But it's not just his performance that sells the fact that he's a kid. It's the writing. It's the fact that Spider-Man makes dumb mistakes. It's the fact that he does more than he has to, more than he's capable of doing. Because even though he's a 15-year-old, he still feels like he's tough shit because he was with the Avengers for one scene in Civil War. This movie also doesn't waste any time explaining the origin of Spider-Man again. It doesn't. We know the origin of Spider-Man. It doesn't show Peter being a good kid who's in love with Mary Jane Watson or Gwen Stacy. It doesn't show fucking Uncle Ben giving him the same speech about power.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Except the second time around, it's way worse.
He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
Good, got it, great, good.
We don't have to see Uncle Ben dying again. We don't have to see Spider-Man getting bit by a spider. There's one line in the movie where a guy asks him, like, did it hurt to get bit by the spider? And you're like, oh, he got bit by a spider. Got it. Thanks. None of that shit, that time-wasting shit that was in The Amazing Spider-Man is in this movie. But at the same time, this movie is an origin story. Because the origin of this Spider-Man is much different than the origin of the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And even The Amazing Spider-Man, if you want to count that shit. We already know that whole backstory about Aunt May and Uncle Ben and the spider and all that. But now we get to see a new chapter in Spider-Man's life. One that's much more appropriate in this universe that has been set up. This Marvel universe. Where he now has this suit and he now has this power. But he lives in a world where being a superhero, one, isn't that big of a deal. And two, there's like other superheroes really keeping him down because he's a kid. And he's trying so desperately to become that Spider-Man he wants everyone to think he is. This shining beacon of bravery and awesomeness and heroism. But he's a kid and he's stupid and he makes stupid mistakes and he fucks people over and he gets people in trouble and he puts lives in danger because of it. And Peter Parker's journey in that respect, and that arc he goes through, and that in and of itself is kind of an origin story. It's about him learning with great power comes great responsibility without someone saying in an awkward line of dialogue, with great power comes great responsibility.
You had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
Tom Holland sells that, the writing sells that, everything about this movie, and the depiction of Peter Parker. And again, I'm not like a comic book guy, I don't read this shit, but it was so refreshing to see. And we're watching, the 6th Spider-Man movie now? And at this point, it could be so just redundant and boring and stale. But when you're watching this, 15-year-old kid acts like a real 15-year-old kid, going through a new journey, it's such a breath of fresh air. Which shocked the hell out of me. Because at bare minimum, I was expecting, the Spider-Man's gonna do the Spider-Man things. And there is that stuff in this movie, and that stuff is the weakest stuff in the movie. The best parts are just watching Peter Parker fumble around trying to find his way in the world. We got lots of other great performances here too. Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. Again, a refreshing take on Aunt May. Not an old bat again, lecturing Peter about how you gotta do great things. Great power comes great responsibility.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us.
There's no fucking scene where she looks through his laundry or whatever, and she goes, "Why is the clothing all red and blue?"
Last time you did the laundry, you turned everything blue and red.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
I was washing the American flag. Can I please
No one washes a flag.
I don't know.
All right, laundry sheriff.
Tony Stark, which was the biggest... That's the biggest concern I had with this movie. Is that, much like the other Marvel movies, most of them anyway, there's always this shoehorned in, we gotta shove in Marvel people. We have to throw in, I don't know, the Falcon into Ant-Man. Why? So that we can have a scene where everyone goes, "Oh, look, it's the Falcon." Isn't that fucking exciting? No, it isn't. It's shoehorned in, and it would have been much better if you just didn't put it in the movie at all. Tony Stark in this movie, though, is an actual character. He acts like Tony Stark. It mirrors a lot of the dynamic Tony Stark had with the kid in Iron Man 3, so it feels natural for his character to be some kind of mentor for Peter Parker. Again, he's Tony Stark, so he doesn't do a very good job being a mentor, but he tries, And it didn't feel shoehorned in there at all. Tony Stark is this kind of father figure trying to guide Peter to become what he wants to be, which is, a hero that everyone looks up to. But he just keeps fucking up, and some of it's the kid's fault, and some of it's Tony Stark's fault for being involved with other stuff. Jon Favreau is in this film a lot. He's kind of the henchman Tony Stark sends out there to watch Peter. And he's funny. I liked Zendaya in this. She's pretty funny. I don't want to say a lot about her, but I found her fun. Michael Keaton as the bad guy. The bad guy dressed in a green suit. But he does a good job selling his character. He's probably one of the better Marvel villains in that I could understand what he was trying to do, and his motivation wasn't revenge. It wasn't like Spider-Man killed my kid or Spider-Man put me in jail so I gotta get back at him. It wasn't any of that. He was a businessman selling arms, illegal arms, to people who wanted to do illegal things with them, and Michael Keaton got pissed off. And he's like, "Spider-Man, I'm gonna kill you if you keep fucking with my business." And that goes into another thing that I love so much about this movie. Even though it is tied in with the Tony Stark stuff and the Avengers stuff, this movie is so small scale. It's not trying to do anything over the top or crazy. There's not this crazy fucking action. There aren't 10 villains. There isn't anything with the Avengers. Spider-Man doesn't have to fight aliens or any of that kind of shit. The movie is Spider-Man is a teenager and this guy is selling guns and Spider-Man has to stop them. And that's so great. And it's so small scale that when Spider-Man tries to tell Tony about it, Tony doesn't even give that much of a shit. He's like, "Yeah, I'll call the FBI in to take care of it." His sidekick the fat kid, he was okay. There were scenes where he really worked, and I understood the point of him, but at the same time, he got a little obnoxious with his, "You're Spider-Man? How does this work? Can you shoot a web this far? How do you do this?"
Can you summon an army of spiders?
No, Ned, no.
Do you know him too?
Stole his shield.
Can I try the suit on?
Oh, you did that? You fought the Falcon? That's so cool. There was a lot of that nonsense, and I really wish they toned that down a lot, because that was getting really fucking irritating. Peter having a sidekick character, having a friend to like back him up and be his, as he says, the guy behind the computer guiding him through the mission. Nothing wrong with that necessarily. I did like that idea, and I did think he was funny. It's just too much with him. Too much of the same dialogue with him. And he's very much a type. Really, everyone in this movie is a type, except Peter himself. But to be fair, in the original Spider-Man, everyone's a type too. If anything, those characters are less developed than the characters in this Spider-Man. It's acceptable for this kind of movie because this, overall, is a flat-out comedy. Really, the action stuff in this movie it's decent. The villain of the week plot is serviceable. The movie didn't get bogged down by the generic love interest and their romance, which was probably the worst part of the movie. But again, it served a point in the plot, and it wasn't focused on that much, really. If that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. We'll get into the love story later. God, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the movie's a comedy. I was saying while the characters in the story are all serviceable, the movie makes up for it with its comedy. This movie is absolutely hilarious. Spider-Man's quips they weren't too many of them, there weren't too few to where Spider-Man became this boring, lifeless, I'm just gonna punch people. The movie had this levity to it, this sense of fun that was so refreshing. It almost goes too far in the comedy department. I guess that's when the complaints are gonna start it, because this movie is hilarious, but it almost goes too far. It's so much of a comedy that you start to not take things seriously. The last movie I reviewed, Baby Driver, which, by the way, I bumped up that rating from an enthusiastic 7 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10. It doesn't matter. But what Baby Driver does get right is while it's really funny and really stylized, there are scenes that are supposed to be tense. And those scenes you take really seriously. And it's like, we're not fucking around anymore, baby. For most of Spider-Man Homecoming, there is absolutely no tension. None. Because it's so concerned with being funny and being lighthearted and showing Spider-Man doing silly things, and when he's fighting the bad guys, he's doing his little quips and he's doing this. And all his quips are funny and all the action is fun and all, the comedy works. But it goes too far. Michael Keaton at some point kills someone in the movie, one of his henchmen, for betraying him. And he goes, "Man, I thought that was the anti-gravity gun." And you didn't need to put a joke in there. Can't we just have Michael Keaton be intimidating for one scene? Like, oh, he meant to kill someone. That's how hardcore he is about this business. That he's gonna kill people if you try to betray him. Can't we have a scene like that? Can we have one scene where you go, oh man, I'm worried? That's where it started to lose me a little bit. But then it redeems it. Because there is a reveal in this movie that is so good, I don't know why I didn't see it coming. So this is the spoiler part. So it is revealed toward the end of the movie that Michael Keaton is the father of the black girl that is way out of Tom Holland's league. She's beautiful, but she's like, I think they say she's a senior, and she's like a foot taller than him. I'm like, I don't see these two together. Don't call me a racist for that. It's not because she's black and he's white. It's because she looks like a runway model, and he looks like he's 14. That was a clever thing to make her black, because I never guessed that she could be Michael Keaton's daughter. I think that's why they did it, honestly. They were like, oh, how do we make this a good twist? Let's make the love interest black. No one will see that coming. Someone must have said that at some point in the boardroom. But yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. And I could see other people saying, oh, that was so obvious. But I was so distracted by the fun and the humor and this beautiful brisk pace this movie moves along that I didn't even think about that. And when it happened, I was just like, oh God. Oh my God. Out audibly in the theater. I was both laughing and crying. That whole scene, that whole sequence, it was uncomfortable, it was tense, and it was funny all at the same time. It was perfect. See how I go down this road of negativity, but then eventually the movie wins me back, because that's what it does. It's so much fun. It's so well done, everything about it. Even, there's some minor characters in here, played by really good actors and really good comedians that I like. Donald Glover is in this movie for 5 minutes, and he's so good. Hannibal Buress is in this movie for maybe a minute. This movie does get bogged down by some things, and even though this movie is wildly entertaining, and it handles this material extremely well, it still gets bogged down by its very standard story. Again, going back to Baby Driver, much like that film, it's all in the execution. At least it doesn't end with a blue laser in the sky. At least it doesn't end with the bad guy blowing up. The bad guy actually learns something, and he accepts his defeat. He learns he became too greedy, and then right as he's about to die, Spider-Man saves him. And then he has a chance to be a dickhead at the end, and he doesn't. He learns from his mistakes. Isn't that refreshing? To have a villain who learns something and isn't just oh, I'm gonna kill everyone? This movie kept it simple. That is a detriment to it, kind of, because it's a very standard Marvel movie story, as well as a very standard teenage high school story, complete with a stupid bully who bullies Peter for no reason. At the same time, it redeems itself with all these really great qualities. I also did not think this movie was very visually compelling. The cinematography is very standard. There is a terrible edit in this movie. I think it happened in the scene where Spider-Man's locked in some kind of giant warehouse, and it does this pan, this is literally the transition they do, and it looks fucking terrible. I was like, what the fuck was that? Who decided to do that? That's something that a high school student does with Windows Movie Maker. You did that in your $200 million movie? I don't know what the budget of this film was, but I was kind of baffled at how bad the Spider-Man suit looked. Not that I disliked the design, because I like the design of it. I like the idea of it. I like that it's kind of like the Iron Man suit. There's a voice inside of it. It can do all these different things. I like the eyes do the Deadpool thing where they close and open based on his emotions going on at the moment. But it looked fake. It just looked fake. Even when it was real, it looked fake. And I don't know what it is. And I adjusted to it eventually, and it stopped bothering me. But for the first 20 minutes, every time he was in that suit, I was like, this suit looks fucking fake. Even when it's literally him standing there in the suit, it looks like CGI. There's a very standard romance in here, which I mentioned before, that it works on a plot level. I understand why it needed to be there, and it led to the great stuff toward the end. But this movie is so almost scared of doing anything really emotional. It's like a teenager who's afraid of being sentimental. And I guess that's kind of the point, but this movie needed some heart. It's a really funny movie, but it's afraid of having anything intimate, which is why the romance in it feels so distant and forced. And it works on a plot level, but it doesn't work on an emotional level. You never get the sense that these two are made for each other. You never get the sense that these two really like each other. Do they even know anything about each other? If the Mark Webb Spider-Man got anything right, it's that. It's that when those two were talking to each other and nothing Spider-Man related was happening, the movie actually kind of worked. It felt like a couple talking to each other. The first one anyway, not the second one. But in this it was so rushed and let's just get this out of the way so we can get to all the cool stuff. Why? This is an important part of the story. Any intimate moments or moments of tension are constantly undercut by a joke or by comedy or by some thing that happens. Why is this movie so afraid of having an emotional scene? Every scene in this movie that is trying to be emotional or somewhat inspiring, like the scene where Spider-Man lifts a bunch of rubble off of him after the Vulture knocks a roof on him, and he looks into a puddle of water and says, "You can do it, Spider-Man, you can do it." That wasn't emotional. That was kind of cheesy, and not in a good way. Not in a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 kind of cheesy, where Drax says, "We're family," and it's cheesy as hell, but it's cute. It feels like the director didn't do a good job of capturing the emotion in that scene, so they had to get the composer to write some cheesy piece of music and then have the editor edit in a line from Tony Stark from earlier in the movie and just plop it in. That's what it felt like. It doesn't make the movie worse. It's just having those elements and spending even 10 more minutes just having cute scenes of Peter and the girl talking to each other, or more scenes of Michael Keaton explaining his motivation, making him more human. All of that could have made this movie much better. Yes, this movie has better action, it has better comedy, it's less cheesy. The movie had all that stuff, but the one thing it's missing that those original three had is a little bit of heart. I'm Ralph the Movie Maker. Goodbye. I don't know what the fuck that was.